We'll see how this goes. I don't even know if it's working. There it is. Gotta turn the volume down or we'll get an echo. Echo, echo. Yes. Still working. Maybe not. I disconnected the microphone, reconnected it. All right. So I'll act like I'm not talking to myself, which I usually am. Uh, what I was going to go over was this book that I bought way back in 1982, I believe, and it's by the editors of Guns and Ammo, and it's called Guns and the Gunfighters. And the reason I wanted to show you that is because when I was talking about the cold lightning, Billy Kid carried one. It's in 41 double action. It was called the Thunderer. But this book right here covers a lot of different um, you see a lot of the stuff in movies and TV, and a lot of it is either outright lies or fiction or just made up. Like Big Nose Kate in any of these movies with Doc Holliday and stuff like that. A lot of times they show her she's really pretty. Well, if you look at actual pictures of her, I don't know, maybe prettier for that time. Let me see how this live chat's doing over here. I don't want top messages. I want all messages. All right, Matisfaction's in here. Cool. So, yeah, usually if I would watch, something like Bonnie and Clyde, you know, because it's guns and ammo, they would also get into the specifics of the guns. For example, like this is something that people would do. They would take. I used to have a police positive Colt special with a 4-inch barrel, but what they've done is they've cut the trigger guard off up here to make it easy to get to it. Well, they've also bobbed the hammer, so this can be fired from the pocket, and they've scalloped some hand grips, finger grips in there. It's basically modified. But yeah, this thing would go through a lot of stuff. What almost killed me? Oh, battery. A D cell battery almost got me. But for example, like when I was in New Mexico, uh, people would drag out cars out to an area, and then they would blast them, uh, and they would shoot them up, and it would look like metal worms, got a hold of it. So yeah, you got to remember back in the West, a lot of this was not politically correct, and the actual what happened a lot of times couldn't be put on television, or discussed historically correct. But here is sorry for the bumpiness. Here's one that John Wesley Hardin had. One was in the Thunderer again, in the 41 Colt, and this one was in the 38 caliber Colt double action Lightning. Now you can see that's smaller and it doesn't have an ejector rod on it. And this is double action, but the cylinder doesn't swing out. Let me show you the one I used to have. So you can pull the trigger and it will cock the hammer and allow the cylinder to rotate and fire. But to unload it, you have to do the old open the unloading gate and eject them out individually. The actual swing out cylinder combined with this didn't come until after this, after this particular gun. This was in the 1800s and stuff. I believe this gun was made in the 1900s to late, maybe 30s. That particular one, I don't have it anymore. But like I said, I used to have a lot of different guns. Let me see. Rugers, Colts. This was a Ruger 45 Colt and 45 ACP with an interchangeable ACP cylinder. Yeah, these are all old stuff that I don't have anymore. A high standard Derringer and 22 Magnum. Now, even though that trigger guard is cut off on there, that was a heavy one. You had to really pull on that. It was something almost like 20 pounds to pull on that trigger. You had to want it to go off, and when it did, it was loud. Ruger, two different size Rugers there. I used to have a curio and collector's license, which if the gun was classified as a curio and a relic, but this one right here, this CZ, I added those wood grips to it, but you could get them mailed directly to your door because you basically, to get a curios and collector's license, you have to pay money and you have to be approved by your local sheriff or whatever. Like, you submit it to them and then they basically do a check on you, make sure you're not, a felon or a gun runner. And then you get it. You have to renew it every so often, and there are restrictions. You can't just buy the guns and then resell them. A lot of them. There's a Glock and 40 caliber, an Ivor Johnson 22. I wish I had that gun. Smith & Wesson 39, a Beretta Tomcat in 32 auto. Beretta 25 auto, Star PD and 45 ACP, 45 Commander. Man, I wish these guns, man. I really wish I would have had them or still had them, but I had them at one time. So I mean, Taurus, Charter Arms, Bulldog, Ruger, Smith. See, I got Y's here. I started labeling it in the pictures. Yeah, even this little 25 auto. A lot of people like, 25 auto's nothing. Man, it'll go right through a bird. Hello, Klaus and Donald and Satisfactions there. I can see some of them. I noticed I hadn't done a live stream in almost a year, and I don't know anybody's schedule or anything else. I'm not trying to stomp on somebody's schedule, but I mean, I figure after almost a year be enough. I could come on. A Ruger Security 6 and 357 Magnum. So yeah, I used to collect guns. I used to shoot guns. Man, I was extensively into guns. This is me at a range shooting that Smith and Wesson 9mm. This was me goofing off. This was a semi-automatic 45 ACP. It wasn't a Thompson or anything like that, but it was built just like one. Um, okay, I don't see. I'll turn this down. I thought I heard an echo here. Turn that one down. This is me at the range. The range is right behind me. This is the room right behind. Over here is a counter. That's like a cast iron stove and pictures of everything that was going on at the range. That's the AR that I built. Hello, Ashley. Um, I got a matched upper and lower receiver, and then another friend of mine who was in the Air Force at the time. He was in the Air Force. I was out. Uh, he helped me build it, but we basically took all the parts, even the barrel, and torqued the barrel on there and built it up. It was a pretty good gun. This is me in Louisiana while I was in the military. Uh, this is not an official uniform for me to be wearing. That's a Colt 45, and this is a Marlin 30-30 lever action. Like I said, I've been around guns for a while. All right, this is after I got out of the service in Houston, and I was trying to, do a gun pose, and this dog photo bombed it. God, and I'm supposed to be looking, like badass with all these guns, and the dog comes up there wagging the tail and trying to lick me in the face. And then here's somewhere the Ruger. I don't know if that's Ruger. That might be a Taurus right there. I'm looking at that because I don't think my Ruger had a. Maybe it did. I don't remember. I can't see the cylinder latch on it. A Detonix 45 ACP. They don't make those anymore, but those were really specialized. The front sight was moved up, and it was back here so you could thumb the hammer back. It was shorter barrel at the time, even than a Commander. And this is a Colt 45 Series 80. This was after the Series. The Series 70 was preferred for a lot of people for competition, but the Series 80 added some more safeties to it and kind of, in some ways, interfered with the trigger in some people's mind, but I had no problem with it. A Remington 870 12 gauge. I won a competition with that one. And a Mini 14, Ruger Mini 14 with folding stock where I did the camouflage on. All right, here's the gun range. This is a side berm. It's kind of small for a side berm, but there's a assault rifle competition going on, and I'm watching him shoot and making sure he doesn't go crazy. And here's that. Now this one is the Ruger. It's the 6-inch. And I've got a knife on my belt here, but it's a fixed blade. I don't remember what. I think it was a Valor or something like that. Made in Japan. Here's me in England with the steel helmet, the Gerber Mark II. Looking back here, Secrets of Knife Fighting. Yeah, it's a complete guide to Secrets of Knife Fighting. That's a little electric heater there. I didn't know how much electricity cost in England when I got there. I thought it was like America, and it gets cold in England, and it has 1, 2, and 3 bar setting, and so I wanted it warm. 3 bar would keep it pretty toasty in there, but man, your electricity bill, man, the first time after acting like an American, because I came in and there was no hot water in the bathroom. They didn't have a shower, but they had a bathtub. And then they wanted to take a bath, and I was like, it's cold water. What the hell? I go over and look, and the little water heater's sitting there, and it's unplugged. And I go, well, that's stupid. I plug it in, and I turn it on, and I take my bath, and I go about my business. Well, with that and the heater and everything else, my electricity bill, now, remember, this was in 1980, England, was almost $300 for an apartment. I mean, a little flat. I mean, I was still working. I wasn't staying there full time. So after that, man, we unplugged that thing. You only turned it on when you needed it. I would use flashlights to go up and down the stairs, or even candles. I'm telling you, man, you learn to conserve. This is me in the Air Force again. Look, I got mismatched camo. I got tiger stripe there, and then other BDU there. This is after I got out. I was still in England. I came over there. Brass knucks, a double-edged knife. I carried that with me in England, so I was probably doing a lot of offenses. Here's that 9mm again, and I think that was a 22, a Taurus 22 that I had. And then that's a crazy picture. So yeah, I have a lot of experience with guns now. Like I said, with my first wife, she did not like guns. I could not talk about them. It's just like if you like knives and you want to talk to your spouse about knives, if they don't like knives, man, they'll let you know they're getting tired of it. She would allow me to speak for 5 minutes a night about guns. The rest of the time, I couldn't talk to her about it, anything. I had to wait my 5 minutes. And eventually, she started easing up to where we we moved from Houston. We were in the service, but we moved from Houston to San Antonio and got out. And uh, I started working at the rifle and pistol range. She was just stay at home, and man, that was tough. She was stay at home and not working because when I got out of the service and went over there to get married to her, uh, I went back to England to get married to her. I had to wait until she was about to separate or something. Anyways, I stayed there for about 3 or 4 months with her, basically taking care of me. So I figured I owed her, that. But man, because I couldn't get a job in England. Even though I have dual citizenship, I never brought that up. But if you weren't a resident of England, you couldn't get a job. You weren't allowed. It was like you were considered taking away jobs from the English residents or citizens. So it wasn't even an option for you. So, anyways, but yeah, I've always liked guns. I had to sell a lot of them when I was in New Mexico, and that really gets to you, like selling your collection. If you have a pride and joy or something, or even an heirloom, and you have to sell it, uh, it it really gets to you after a while. Let me just check this chat here, and then I'll look through here and at the heading here, and you tell me if there's any ones that you'd be interested in seeing about. It covers a lot of different stuff. Hey, Chris. Chris is a moderator here, so he'll kick you out if you get a little unruly. Heck Thomas, the Pinkertons, Billy the Kid. My name is William, and when I was a kid, they called me Billy, and of course, Billy the Kid. I used to get called that a lot. So it's kind of interesting to find out what his real history was. Doc Holliday, Black Bart, and then they cover a bunch of different guns themselves. And yeah, it's just, man, before the internet and everything else, this is the way I would entertain myself. I'd get home and I'd want to read about um, guns or the history of guns. You know, Wild Bill Hickok. That's another one they would call me, Wild Bill. So yeah, that's history. A lot of the stuff you you get exposed to if you're growing up and your name's William. He's the one that's famous for the cards that he had in his hand when he got shot in the back of the head, aces and eights. So that's what a lot of people associate with that. But let's see. I was trying to tell. If I adjust this camera too much, it tells me to rotate the device. That's why the first stream didn't work. It was going to come out in the wrong format. You know, it's going to be up and down. But yeah, it just lists a lot of the different um, historical aspects. You know, of a lot of different things like 1881 Colt Navy revolver. You know, I would look at a lot of these just to watch the, you know, just to see the pictures. Oh well, thank you, Donald, and hey Matthew. Yeah, I've been having problems with internet connection a lot of times, even though I've got supposedly unlimited data and all this other stuff and 5G. I don't know if it's sunspots or what, but it's not just the phone. A lot of times the TV, I get television over the air, it'll mess up and not get channels that it would normally get. And of course, I go through try to rescan and all this other stuff, and you if it can't find it, then it says, well, they don't exist. It won't even look for them. So you have to rescan again when the signal gets strong. It's a pain in the butt. Anyways, I'm not paying for cable and all this other stuff, but my internet is through my phone, my cell phone. So if anything happens to my cell phone or this backup cell phone, I'm out of touch with pretty much everything. You know, I have to go back to get my information from the radio, walkie-talkie or something. But yeah, just all the different guns that they were. You know, Bonnie and Clyde were here in Texas, so they did a lot of their run around here in Texas. Some of this gets bloody. In case y'all, you know, these are graphic photographs on some of this. You know, they could try to warn you of that right there. But yeah, they would take and cut down shotguns. We'll get past that offensive looking stuff. And then, you know, you just sit here and you start reading some of these, and they're just really, really interesting. What happened, what went on. Sometimes it's mostly guns. I don't think they ever really cover much about knives in this particular book, but they get pretty extensive in some of their stories. And to me, it was like a reference. Like if I watched a Hollywood movie and it talked about like Sergeant York, or it talked about something else. Well, here's his dagger right here. We got his dagger. A cut down 1833 Amos short sword was supposed to have belonged to Marietta, and its name scratched in the cross guard. And then, you know, wanted posters. What I was talking about earlier was, uh, since I got a 22 recently, I was talking about how it it made a really big difference with metallic cartridges, because before, man, a pistol was a revolution, even one of these at the time. But man, to reload them, and black powder had a lot of smoke coming out of it. It took a while. You know, you had to make your shots count. It wasn't spray and pray, because you didn't have a lot to spray. And then some of the stuff, like even Medal of Honor winners and stuff, you read about them, you see stories about them, but a lot of times the actual things that they did were much more impressive. He was credited with killing 25 Germans, and his patrol of 7 men captured 132 enemy soldiers. So he's famous for them charging him and him taking him down with the 45, because he grew up, you know, on a farm, and he knew how to shoot. And nowadays, people don't know how to shoot because, frankly, there's not a lot of places for you to shoot, and it's considered bad and all that other stuff. But it is a part of our history. You know, I mean, it's a big part of our history. Here's another old Colt. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining in here and looking through the old book with me and stuff like that. Um, Anybody you see over here, with the little green behind their name is a channel member. I want to thank all the channel members also, because this recent giveaway where Bishop won and everything, um, that's possible because of these channel members. You know, it really helps out. Um, I like giving things away. I mean, I do it with or without help, honestly. You know, I mean, that's just the way I am, because it's fun. You know, it's fun. Even if you've got all kinds of knives and stuff, it's just fun to get some stuff. Let's go through some of the goodies while we're at it here that Bishop's gonna get. I verified his that he's really who he says he is and his address and everything. So all I got to do is wait until next week and get out to the post office. All right. Of course, he's winning the ram horn hawkbill. Hey, Randy. This stream up here, you know, on the up on top, disappears. So that's why a lot of times I run this other phone in the background to show me what's going on. But we're going to be sending this out to him, the big ram horn. These come in good for gardening and, you know, opening boxes. There's all kinds of uses for this. You could cut a bird with it, but it'd probably be kind of weird. You know, it'd be like you were an animal clawing at your food. I don't know if I put that in there right. All right, so we know he's got that. And, of course, I found another eyeball. I got to get, these only appear at Dollar Tree when Halloween stuff is out, and I think they've got them out because I'm almost out of these. These are good to have. Of course, dinosaur eggs, because what? Who's going to get a dinosaur? This is an official one. He's got his tag, and he's got his little, doesn't fit his neck as good, but you could use it on something else. I don't know if he has a standing up problem or not. And of course, you know, a lot of y'all don't see this, but I throw in little goodies, little snacks. And here we got an American flag that you can display there. Cracker Jacks to get a prize. Now, an anonymous viewer sent me a bunch of these, and I have to admit I've been chowing down through them. But what I've noticed is different is the prize inside. It used to be a little thing like a magnifying glass, a toy whistle. I mean, it wasn't anything super special, but now it's just something that you got to play online. You get like a little token or something. I don't know. It was beyond me. All right, you get a couple of the older channel stickers. And then this is a new one. It looks like the old one, but these are going to eventually run out, and this will be in there. And then, of course, write down all your important information. I've got the complete knowledge of the universe in here. It just hadn't been filled out yet. But it's the complete knowledge of the universe there. He's getting a flashlight. Of course, he's getting batteries, the little batteries that go with that. Throw a lot of this in here. Chok Choi Gupan Gut La. It's from Vietnam. A ammo carrying thing up here. More American flags. Some true lime and true lemon. Don't go for that fake lime or fake lemon. Just get the true stuff. Alright, some more of that. And then we got some, like, true lemonade. I'm not sponsored by any of these things, by the way. It's what I throw in there as goodies for people. Some more true lemonade. A pencil, you need something to write your notes with other than your own blood with your knife. Ginseng. If you've never had ginseng before, I'll tell you what your first impression would be as a Western person. Who put dirt in my drink and tried to tell me it was tea? A little bit of sugar and stuff helps. It's good for you, though. I mean, I like it. After a while, you develop a taste, I guess, even for dirt. Another pencil in case that last one broke. A pen. We're bringing you up into modern times. This is a Bic round stick. It's not one of those bolt action $300 pens, but I tell you what, these last, and they're pretty good. And of course, you get your very own dinosaur neutering mat, or whatever you want to call it, cutting mat. This is a pretty good size. You can use this camping as a little place either to sit down on when you if you got a narrow butt, or to cut up food, or just all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of things you can do with one of those. And of course, one of these. This is not a DinoNet special. I'm sorry, those all sold out. This is just a manual one. You put 3 batteries in it. It doesn't come with the batteries, but you put them in there, and then you push it on, and it comes on. And you got to remember to turn it off because the batteries will run down. I run disposable batteries in there. All right, and that's it as far as. And I'll try to throw in some other knife in there. Um, it may, it, it's not going to be anything super duper, but it'll be a knife, just another something to throw in there. So that's what you get in a box of Cracker Jacks. Well, no, actually, what you get in a box of Cracker Jacks is caramel peanuts. I mean, caramel corn, popcorn, and peanuts, and it's delicious and addictive. Get over there. One of your ginsengs tried to escape. All right, what happened here? No, get out of there. What's this saying? Target circle. What? What? Target circle. Jim Bowie. Yeah, let's see if we got Jim Bowie in here, because that would be a good one. I don't know if they've got him in here. Let me look. I gotta look up real close. Texas Rangers. Tom Horn. See, it's mostly about guns, and Jim Bowie is more known for his knives. Now, I had another book. It's also very historical, and this one was old. 1955 is when it came out. But he talks a little bit about his life and everything, but it covers a lot of guns. I mean, it does a lot of the gun history. And I did something. If everybody gets banned or ejected, it's because my phone did it, or Peppy did it. But really, look at how the guns used to come supplied, with all the little gadgets and loading gear. And then you had, well, let me show you over here. See, you had your little lead balls. This is a pepper box. Improved revolving pistol. Let me get this. Oh, here. Put it like this where we can see. See, they would come in this little wooden box with these little dividers, and you'd have all your little accessories. But I had a little single-shot Derringer look just like that. It was a Butler, 22 short, this one or this one, and you pulled the hammer back and swung the barrel sideways to load it and unload it. But yeah, man, if I'd have had a camera or videos of stuff that I had even in New Mexico. Most the range and everything was in San Antonio, Texas. And when I went to New Mexico, I still had a lot of my reloading gear, and there was a range only like a mile and a half from me, and oh man, and you could go out into the desert and fire. Oh, it was easy to shoot. Also, what's the question mark for? I don't know. It's a mystery. It's a question mark. But yeah, black powder. He talks about the different evolutions, the different kind of guns. Like I said, before the internet and stuff like this is a way you learn things or entertain yourself. Or if you couldn't afford to have stuff, you would get books that had lots of pictures of guns. These are nowadays this would be considered a short-barreled rifle or something. If you can't really attach a stock to a barrel under 16 inches, or it's considered a short-barreled rifle or something like that, and it has to be registered. But this was before all those laws. And so basically that just stabilizes the gun a lot more. It doesn't make the gun any more accurate. The gun is still going to lob bullets the same way it always did. It's just that you could steady it better. Over here, sometimes they would even supply it with bullets, and then they get lavish with, the engraving or the casting of them. Elephant gun. .38 Colt. But yeah, I like I said, I love guns. I don't want to violate any YouTube policies and stuff like that, but I know they kind of like shadow ban people even talking about it. They'll not recommend the stream. Now on the advertising, I selected. It says, is this made for? Let's see, what was it? You if you clicked on it, you could still get monetization, but it would be limited to, I guess, certain advertisers don't want to be associated with stuff like this. And you can't advocate anything illegal. You can't talk about modifying, guns and stuff like that, because really, that a lot of times that would be the difference. Just the length of a barrel on like a shotgun could be the difference between you being perfectly legal or you being a felon if they caught you. No matter what your history was, like, look, that is illegal. You might be able to plea bargain, get it knocked down, but still, why risk it? My thought is always, you might as well obey the law. See, here's some more of those bird's head grips. Man, those are cool. But like I said, you start getting the longer barrels, and Colt Bisney and Lightning Frontier double actions. But yeah, the one I had was this color and everything, but like that length barrel. Well, that's life. Things happen. You just got to be happy you're still above ground and breathing. Sometimes that's an accomplishment. 32 Smith & Wesson automatic. Yeah, I've got all. I used to have, like I said, a whole library. A whole bedroom was basically converted into my safe, my reloading components, and reloading tools. I'd cast bullets, all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, I got into it. But then, when you run out of money, um, you got a choice between having money or not having money. Sorry, this thing keeps telling me rotate device, earthquake. But yeah, this is a good book here if you want to see a lot of pictures, about. Um, let me leave a knife or two up here. Keep your background going there. Let me get his other book. Sorry, I'm gonna walk away. There's a microphone dangling there. Let me know that that's where the microphone's at. Where have you gone? Well, I can't find it right now. I thought I knew where it was, but I didn't, so I better not try to go searching for it. Let me see if I can find any more good pictures in here. Yeah, here's some of the old Western type of stuff. A lot of leather flourish going on there. See, fancy belts. holsters. This helps too if you want to like have a period type piece and stuff, see? Or if you're running out of ideas for leather. See, this is called like a basket weave. And then there's a little rose petal or something. Those always look good. And then you got the cartridge loop type. You know, the good old, hey Mike, and hello me with knives. Go Air Force, what was it? Up, it used to be aim high, which, you know, doesn't work if you're in the Army because then you'd miss. Ow! Oh, my hip. My hip acted up. Gave me one of those shocks. I'm standing up. But yeah, you know, got the cartridge loop and then a little lanyard, I guess, to attach to your gun so you don't lose it. A lot of these, you know, fast draw, he talks about quick draw. Fast gun handling is needed only for close range self-defense work. Then a person's ability to do fast, accurate hip shooting may save his life. There's nothing magical or mythical about it. As an infant, you slowly learn the use of a spoon, and then later a knife and a fork. Your hand learns to find its way to your mouth with the spoon or fork as naturally sure as a baby chick finds its food with its beak. Do anything long enough and you become proficient. That's true. You learn from practice just where your mouth is and not to stick your lips or tongue. What is this? On the tines of the fork. The gunman carries his gun just so, and over a period of years, his hand learns exactly where it is. Anyone with ordinary intelligence and the use of his hands and arms can learn quick draw and accurate hip shooting. It's only a case of practice and the practical application of the mental and physical abilities which we are endowed. To a real gunman, hip shooting should be just as natural and as sure as pointing your finger. Man, he gets as close to talking to someone from the Old West as anyone else because he lived through a lot of that. I mean, he's dead now, but I mean, he did a lot about long range shooting with pistols. He learned, you know, how far a 45 Colt would go and how it drops, and he would hit coyotes at incredible ranges. And a lot of people who are reading his book said, "Oh, you're making that up." And you know, he's an honest guy. He said, "Well, it's almost like calling somebody a liar, you know, when you said that, you know, like you're making it up. It is like calling him a liar." And I could tell he's not the type of, he wouldn't be the type of person you'd say that to in his face because you'd probably get popped before you explained, you know, why you weren't calling him a liar. But yeah, there's Elmer. He got horribly burned in a fire too. He lived through it, but he got burned. He had a horse drag him. You know, sometimes I think one time he had to shoot his horse because it was dragging him along and his foot was stuck in the stirrup. And he's got another book called Hell, I Was There, and it's more about him. This is him and his life and what he went through, then particularly, you know, he talked about guns in it a little bit. This is the book that you would get if you wanted to look and read about guns a lot. And it's been long out of print, and they're, you know, not easy to find and stuff, but just be able to find these pictures, and then, like I said, when he's talking, it's just interesting. Hey, Pepper Dingo. Sorry if I missed anybody. I'm just running my mouth off. Gunfighting. The early West developed a large number of trained and experienced gunfighters. The westward course of the empire produced a breed of men unique in history. Life was cheap and killings commonplace. Outlaws preyed upon honest miners and citizens and early ranchers. About the only law was the town marshal and early sheriffs. These men were hired or elected more for their ability with a gun than for their knowledge of the law. They had to try to control the toughest elements of society ever thrown together in one heterogeneous mass of humanity. Somebody's trying to call on this other phone, and I'm not going to answer it. Quit buzzing over there. I think I hung up. If not, maybe they're listening to us. That other phone that I've got, I never blocked all the numbers that it was associated with. I don't know if it was a burner phone or whatever. I think it was female, but it's like, hey, babe, what's up? I'm not your babe. Let's see what he says. The gunfighter was born, menace of wild Indians and organized bands of outlaws preying on immigrants moving westward to gold mines of California and rich farmlands of Oregon was ever present. The law was confined to small communities backed by gunfighting martial, or was non-existent. Over a goodly portion of this continent, the law was a six-gun that was packed by each individual in 6 chapters. The age-old law of nature, the survival of the fittest, ruled. Many outlaws and peace officers became very fast and deadly with a gun. They had to in order to survive. There are only 2 classes of gunfighters, the quick and the dead. Those on the side of the law, backed by honest citizenry, gradually shot some semblance of decency and order into each community. Many a western town had a dead man to bury every morning. I saw the last of that era as a very small boy in Montana before the coming of the automobile. So see, he was there before the car. I mean, I was at least there after television, so not before radio or anything. Hey, he was before radio. No, it wasn't before radio. Look, it's got a retry. Lost its signal. You've been talking to yourself for 40 minutes now, and you've not been connected to the internet. What? Let me say hello to some people here in the... Hello, Jeffrey Duncan. Swamp Stomper, I think I said hello before. Pepper Dingo. Randy. And Mike Curtis again. So yeah, these are, like I said, these gun books and everything. I used to have a library basically in my house of gun books and stuff like that. And this is the way you would basically entertain yourself. And you get you don't see this stuff anymore. You don't see advertisements like that. Border Patrol. And then here's the new generation of the double-barreled generator, Derringer generator. Chamber for the 38 special. Usually with these particular Derringers, I've owned and shot quite a few of them. Even though it's a single action, like you cock it back and it goes afire, that trigger pull is atrocious. It's heavy, heavy, heavy. That's why they don't have a trigger guard there. It's heavy. It's not going to go off accidentally, believe me. And they usually have a crossbar bolt over there, safety too. You can put it in there if you can carry it. All right, here's some Keith doing some long-range shooting. Wish this thing would focus. Look down there. It's not looking. It's not focusing over there. Keith at age 19, shooting long range with his 5-inch 1950 target Smith & Wesson 44 Special. He's responsible for the 357 Magnum. Basically, he was experimenting with a lot of stuff, and he talked to him, and basically they came out with the 357 Magnum. And I think he had something to do with the 44 Magnum too, but I'm not sure. And then this one goes, this is a big debate that's always going on. When I was exposed to guns and doing guns in the 80s, it was, they were transitioning from revolvers. San Antonio Police Department was transitioning from 4-inch Smith & Wesson, I think it was model 66, but it might have been 19s, 357 Magnums, and they were gonna go to autos. They were experimenting with going to it. I don't know what they picked. I think they finally went with a 9 millimeter or something. But they would come out to our range and shoot because their indoor pistol range was shut down because of lead levels. You've got to have a really good air scrubber to take care of that stuff, or else the people that work there, or even the people that just shoot there for qualification, they get too much lead in their bloodstream, and that's just from the bullet going down the barrel and getting vaporized, and some of it, and you breathing it. Outdoors, you don't have that problem. So they would come and qualify and shoot at our range a lot. Here's him on a horse. He killed a bobcat with his 45 Colt in 1920. Bobcats, man, you talk about a freaky sound. If you've ever heard a bobcat in nature, oh my God, they are weird. They are wild sounding. A lot of times when you see on TV a mountain lion and they have a sound of him growling, it's a bobcat doing that. That's making that sound. It's not a mountain lion. I don't know. I've heard them when they growl. It's more like I mean, when they make calls, it's really weird. It's not what you would think. Now a lion, on the other hand, a lion has a roar. You hear that. You feel that. It's deep in the bass. 6 shots offhand at 10 yards by Errol Keith on December 9th, 1930. 6.5 grains of bullseye. Keith 250 grain 44 special. I used to have a Charter Arms Bulldog in 44 special. I bought the 44 special mainly because of reading this book. Uh, and it's a pretty good little cartridge. It's just not common caliber. It's pretty accurate. There he is shooting stuff up in the air. I shot a bullet in the air. Where it fell, I did not care. But yeah, it goes over a bunch of different stuff. There's another. He got a thing against. I better not show Buddy this. Hey, look at Buddy. Look what happened there. Fanning a single action. And then he goes into like cap and ball. So um, bullets. He made something called like the Keith bullet. So here's some like a lead cast. I had those. You get these different molds that interchange, and then you knock this off. That's a sprue cutter right there. And over here is an electric furnace. It's a really old one. I had an RCBS 20-pound, I believe, lead pot right there. Ideal bullet lubricator. Yeah, after you cast a bullet, you've got to size them a lot of times because they're a little bit oversized. So you run them through a die that swages them and puts lubricant in these grooves here so that it doesn't foul your bore too much. And lead bullets, depending on, that's another one, like heat treating and everything, depending on how hard they're cast, depends on what kind of velocity you can drive them. You have to add more antimony and tin and stuff like that to get a higher uh, one that can handle like Magnum, 357 Magnum levels. Because if you put just regular standard lead in there, you're only going to get like 2 or 3 rounds, and that barrel's going to be fouled with lead. I mean, it's just like coming out in strings. Yeah, there's a lot. I learned from a guy that cast bullets, an old guy that knew how to cast bullets and everything. I'd done cartridge reloading since I was a kid. I had a little Lyman handheld kit, and I would reload from my 30-30, and that's all I had at that time was a 30-30. I didn't have a handgun or anything else later on. See, this is what can happen if you put a squib load in there, or you put too much powder in. This is what happens when a revolver separates. I've seen this. I've seen these happen at gun ranges before. I've seen it happen with an auto, and I've seen it happen with a revolver. Both times the person didn't really get hurt that bad, but it scared them. They probably had to change their pants afterwards because there's nothing like a gun blowing up in your hand. Here's like a Lee hand loader. See, it would just be a little thing you had in your hand and a little press, and you would screw in these different little things, and then yeah. Here, Cap and Ball revolvers, Klaus is considered antique. They're not even considered firearms. I believe even a felon can own one, but don't quote me on that if you're a felon. But yeah, they gun laws and everything else, like the curio and relics that I was getting, they could be military weapons and stuff, but they had to be uh, of a particular historical value, and then for it to be considered an antique, it had to be over 100 years old. And I'm just trying to find. You could get some, mailed to you. Like I said, you look through a Shotgun News. Let me get one of those. Just a second. I know I got one of those. No. Every time I think I know where something's at, it's not there. It's moved. It's them dinosaurs. I blame it. I blame it on the dinosaurs. It's Peppy. Peppy, you haven't been on a live before, have you? Try not to act up. Remember, it's on video. It can't be erased. We can't take it away. If it happens, Peppy, and people hear about it, then yeah. So thank you everyone who's joined in on this. I'm trying to get a fan going on here because it's. Let me just turn the air conditioner down since it's free electricity weekend. Um, yeah, I just got that Heritage 22 Derringer. I mean, not Derringer. Let me get that thing. Move back, Peppy. Get my microphone. Now that's unloaded. I can't get the light to come on the camera. Let me see if I can push a button here and get something to happen. Maybe not. Um, but yeah, because of that one that used to be my grandfather's and everything else, I just had to get a bird's head grip revolver, and I'm so happy I got this one. I probably won't be able to shoot it for quite a while, if ever, but that's not the purpose of it. Is really more, I like to watch a lot of westerns and stuff like that. And that other one that I have with the 6.5 inch barrel, it's more historically accurate, but it's long. Even I've got a small apartment. I don't want to be poking the neighbors with the barrel. But I saw this one and I thought, man, I got to get. Now Ruger makes one also in this size, and I might eventually wind up getting it because it wasn't that much more. This one was like 200, and Ruger was like 230. And if you got a holster with it and everything, it was like 260 or something like that. So that's not too bad. Um, these, like I said, if the cylinder would interchange and everything, and you get one that works, it'll take a 22 Magnum. And even though this is only like a 3.5 inch or so length of barrel on it, you get quite a bit more velocity out of a 22 Magnum. Um, in that 6-inch barrel 22 that I've got, if I put a Magnum in it, it'll get velocity out of the barrel equal to like out of a rifle with a 22 long rifle, like a 16-inch barrel. So I mean it significantly boosts up its power there. But they're more expensive, and if you're doing it just to plink, a lot of times you don't need that power. And like I said, they're significantly more expensive. The ammo is with 22 ammo, man. That's what I said. I like about with me like with revolvers. Like if you've got an automatic, that's where a lot of people think is where everything should be. Is a semi-automatic handgun. All of these are considered like old school or ancient, and this is considered really, really ancient. Because it's single action, it's not fast. But again, the same thing can be said of a traditional pocket knife. Okay, it it's not fast. It's a little bit slower, but it reminds you of tradition, and it still does what it's supposed to do. It'll still cut. This thing will still send a piece of lead down the barrel, at a pretty high rate of speed. Uh, they use 22s in competition also. I mean, so for like, I think a lot of the Olympics is shot with just like 22s or 22 shorts. And it takes some skill to fire a handgun accurately. You can be much more proficient with a rifle than you can with a handgun simply because you have a longer sight radius for your eyes to line up these sights, and you can stabilize it a lot better. Usually, you've got more weight and everything else. And the longer barrel will give you a longer velocity. It has longer time to stabilize the bullet. So there's a lot of advantages. But if you learn how to shoot a handgun, you can shoot a rifle pretty well. It's not completely 100%, you know, but you basically, if you know how to keep a handgun steady on target, you can keep one with a rifle, especially like from a rest or anything else. But yeah, so let me see how long I've been on this chat and if I've missed anything on here. Uh, yeah, the 1022 is a good one. The 1022 is a really good rifle. That's another one that, like I said, my first wife, she wouldn't let me talk about guns but for 5 minutes. And so at first, that's all I could do. I just had to wait. And then afterwards, she started liking guns and got into competition even. She even started shooting competition. And when I got a divorce, she took half of all the guns. So I think if I wouldn't have talked her into guns and she didn't like them, when I got a divorce, she was like, "You keep those. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with that." So it kind of. But what was good about that was we never had any serious arguments as a couple because we both knew how to use handguns and stuff. We never did any of those surprises like hiding outside the window in a scary mask or ambushing them out of a car because we knew they were armed. The other one was armed. And that, I'll tell you, here's a story. All right. This is a real, a true life story. Um, After I was in San Antonio, by this time my wife liked guns and she had been, you know, she had a gun of her own and she kept it in the headboard of the bed right behind her. And she liked to sleep with her hands behind her head a lot of times also, so her hands were really near the pistol. And I came in the bedroom one night and she woke up from a dream or something and pulled that gun on me. I mean, she had it. She pulled it out And I said, "Hey, it's just me." you know. Um, I didn't do anything, to I wasn't trying to creep up on her or anything like that. But it's like, it takes a little bit more motor skills with the revolver. She had a double action revolver. It takes a little bit more motor skills, and I was in a position where I could just duck back, and she would miss me if she did fire. But yeah, yeah, that happened, and yeah, that can be scary. Another time, this was after I had a after wait, which was it? I don't know if it's that little. I think it's this little guy, this little Iber Johnson 22. I've been at the range, and I always had a pistol in my back pocket. Because you never knew if there was going to be snakes or animals or wild dogs that would come out, all kinds of stuff. You never knew. And if you were at a pistol range and you were walking around and you didn't have a gun, you were the only one that didn't. Everybody else did. So I had it loaded up with a 22 loaded up with birdshot, a birdshot in the first round, and that was just in case. It probably wouldn't cycle because it's an auto. An auto, the difference between a revolver and auto is you can put any power bullet in an auto that fits in there, and it will go off, and it'll continue the cycle. With an auto, they're usually set for full power ammo. So if you put something like a CCI birdshot in there, if it's already in the chamber, it'll go off, but it probably won't have enough power to cycle the slide. So, anyways, I get home, and one of the first things I'm going to do is take the guns out, and I'm going to unload it. And it was an auto, so I took the magazine out. Then the next thing you do is you pull the slide all the way back. I pulled the slide halfway back, and I was looking in the barrel, and I saw daylight. Well, what had happened was the extractor had grabbed that round and pulled it back, and because the tip was blue and dark and everything, and it was dark where I was at, I didn't see that round there. And instead of pulling it all the way back, I just let it go, the slide go forward. All right, so that's the first mistake. And then I aimed it at the wall. That's good because I put it in a safe direction. Yeah, I had the opportunity of dropping the hammer on that gun on safe or off safe, and I took it off safe and aimed it at the wall and pulled the trigger, and it went bang, and it left a nice little uh, like number 8 or 9 shot birdshot pattern, maybe about like this size on the side of the bed, maybe like about that big, and it was what do you call that, panel board? Where it was simulated wood, but it was just like particle board. What do you call that stuff? Drywall? That's not drywall. Anyway, it didn't go through that. That was made out of like particles and everything, but it dug into there. It peppered it pretty good. And my wife, she had the safe open, and the door was blocking her, from getting in there. But if you've ever been inside if you ever dropped a firecracker inside a can or something like that, the noise, even a 22, it's bong. And she goes, "Honey, that was a gunshot." And I said, "Yeah, that's they call that accidental discharge, but it's the real term for it is negligent discharge because uh, it wasn't an accident. I mean, you can call it an accident, but you had to do several things wrong. The only thing that saved me that time was that I had the weapon pointed in a safe direction when I fired it, but I was not expecting it to go off. And my brother-in-law, who used to be a police officer in um, Houston Airport Police Department, he worked at the range. He was part owner there, and he had a 357 snub nose Smith and Wesson model 66. It was like a 2.5 inch. And they tell you, for practice, one of the things you want to do is dry fire. So what you do is you unload your gun, you put a phone book or something down there on the ground, and you practice pulling the trigger and keeping it steady and letting it fall on an empty chamber. And he had been doing that. And then because we're out at the range and we're in a remote area, uh, people were pulling up. So he got his gun and he reloaded it. And, they just wanted to shoot and stuff like that. So he took their money and told them where, gave them their targets and they go out. And so he thought, what was I doing? Oh, yeah, I was dry fire. So he gets down there, and what did he not do? He didn't check to see if it was loaded or unloaded. And without any ear protection on or anything like that, he aimed at that phone book and pulled the trigger, and it went BAM! And if you've ever shot a 357 Magnum, especially out of a small barrel, and particularly in an enclosed environment like that, you're going to have hearing problems. You're going to have issues. And the only thing that saved him again was the backdrop, the phone book. It was back then, they were thick phone books. It actually stopped the bullet in there, but man, yeah. Most anybody that handles a firearm will tell you sooner or later, they'll either tell you a story where they did something wrong, or they had it, they mishandled it, or they witnessed it, or they had seen it happen. And some are not with us. Some can't tell you that story. You see it a lot of times. A gun goes off. You see it on the internet. A gun goes off, and some idiot will look down the barrel. He'll look down the barrel to see if there's an obstruction. Oh my God! Really, that is really Darwinism, the law of natural selection at work. If you're that dumb, you really shouldn't be handling a firearm. You know. So, anyways, I'm getting kind of like dry mouth here, and I've been talking for quite a while. I want to thank everyone that's joined us in here. Yeah, Desert Eagle. I fired a Desert Eagle also at the range in 357 Magnum. It's a big gun. Um, it's a big pistol, a little overly big, I think. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this one down, and I just again want to thank everyone for joining me on this little adventure. Next time, I'll be a little bit more organized and have something else to talk about. But everyone, just have a good weekend out there and be safe.